think that whole view is going to collapse. It has been designed to collapse simply because the world has to go sustainable, whether we like it or not. The entire world that we've seen, this hedonistic nutcase world, is destined for system failure.
Wow, man. I gotta confront you about something, because we never discussed this publicly, but two certain issues you've been talking about, it kind of shocked me, because you never did this years ago. You keep on talking about resource management all the time, and the other thing is overpopulation.
Afraid.
It does scare.
Joe is afraid.
I am afraid. I mean, these two terms scare the fuck out of me. You know why? Because I met fucking Freemasons, dude, even this year, who are using the exact same terminology, and they would talk some crazy shit if everyone in China had the same lifestyle as we do here in Sweden or America or whatever, there was not enough resources for that fucking shit to happen. It would be exhausted. Or there are too many people in the world, we need they didn't actually say it, but I told them straight up, man, because I'm, I'm a pretty rude person. I said, what do you mean? You mean put shit in the water or food so they can't have as many kids? And he just looked at me and he smiled. So evil fucking smile, dude. But man, you're supposed to be against these motherfuckers, but you're advocating the exact same positions. I mean, how can you say my name is Ticker, I'm anti-New World Order, but I think overpopulation and resource management has legitimacy?
Well, do the math, and it looks like the world population has more than tripled since World War II. And this has been done by pumping out oil and using potash and oil and such to sort of grow more food than we used to have. And then we really have had a huge increase in population, but we don't have people that are maturing psychologically. And so we've got this curve of people going up, and basically we have a lot of strain on the environment, and things aren't managed properly. So we do have to go to some sort of sustainable method of management where things are sort of scaled back. I don't think that we have to have extermination, but certainly we have to slow down and confront the reckless, greed-based culture that has created a huge problem for us. And so we can't get away from this. How many people do you need on the planet? It's what they're saying is what the globalists are afraid of, is they're saying 10 to 12 billion by 2050. Well, where are you going to put them? And have you educated them? It's just do you just push the button and say, okay, 10 billion now, 12 billion, 15 billion? How much is too much?
You could put everybody in the entire population of the world easily can fit into some countries like Switzerland.
Yes, but you have to manage it. And then you have to deal with the mess being created. You have to deal with, actually, I don't think it's so much a matter of doing a calculation on saying, hey, there's one person, and calculate, do a math calculation, say we can fit the world population into Texas. It's not that. It's how much garbage is being produced, how much actual tonnage it has to go to support every single person, and on what basis is production being managed. It's basically being based on this messy system of oil where any little product has to be triple wrapped in cellophane, and then people basically, if you want to have a drink of something, I had this thing that I've got, it's like these little yogurt bottles. I just wanted to take a look, never mind, but there's a yogurt bottle, I think they've got 93 milliliters of yogurt in it. Those little drink things?
Yes.
And the thing is covered with cellophane. It's made out of plastic, and then it's packaged in a paper wrapper. And so every time you're going to have 93 milliliters of sugar drink made from some sort of genetically modified cows, you're going to throw, and it's actually right on the bottle of this thing. It says that 160 of these bottles are consumed per second, just that brand. That's their boast. So 160 of these things are being thrown into landfills or recycling bins or something per second. And so you can't like just take the cows and say, hey, let's put the stuff in like a big sort of jar or something and pump it out in a cafeteria. No, you have to like wrap it in an oil-based little 93 milliliter container. That's just completely wasteful. It's toxic, and it just simply it just nuts. It's nuts. And why do we have a system of distribution like this? It's because Mr. Idiot running the company says, I need to be the yogurt trillionaire. And if, I have to like get the cow junk and put it in this tiny little bottle where they will like drink. He wants to actually see on that thing that people are drinking 200 per second. He wants to get to the point where his figure says 500 per second. He wants to get to the point where it's 1,000. He'll be sitting there celebrating, saying 1,000 per second are going into the landfill. So, hey, have your little drink of cow sugar and then throw it away. This does not work. This is what's headed for collapse. And so, sure, you can have maybe, 30 billion or maybe 40 billion, maybe 50 billion people on the planet, but they have to be intellectually matured. And we have to be able to adapt our systems to support that sort of population. It's not just a situation where you cut down all the trees. Apparently, I got to study Easter Island because they say on Easter Island, they went and they said, okay, we're setting up a civilization. And then they just started expanding. They got bigger and bigger and bigger. Then they said, okay, well, now we have to cut down the trees. And then once they cut down the trees and such and so forth, they started getting into a famine situation. Then they turned into cannibals. So it became they had a growth curve. The population went up, and then things went bad. They ran out of trees. They had famine. Then they basically hacked themselves to pieces and ate themselves. It just apparently pandemonium. And we're going to end up with that if we continue in this idiotic direction.
Oh, Ticker, now, it doesn't happen often, but you like right now, you're pissing me off, dude. I can tell the truth. Ticker, well, how can you, are you against them putting, let's say, a fluoride in the water to decrease, among other things, decrease fertility, or adding that male shit in plastic that feminizes male again to decrease fertility? Or what about spreading radiation throughout the world, which radiation deplete uranium, even this fucking Fukushima shit, it's going to decrease fertility. I mean, so are you for all these insidious methods to decrease human fertility?
No, I'm for the right method. We have to get serious about turning greed into a crime. We have to go sustainable. We have to be reasonable people. We can't be a bunch of junkies that want to be trillionaires. So all of this stuff you're talking about, fluoride and all that other junk, is like all this Rockefeller-based madness. It's like basically billionaires are looking for ways to kill people so that they can keep the money. We have to go up against the enemy, which is greed. Greed has to become the capital sin that it is. It has to be viewed as what I consider to be the canopy root sin of all the other sins. We have to get back to the point where we actually say that doing things that are wrong are actually wrong. And then, no, there's no reason to put toothpaste or put fluoride in toothpaste. It's like some toothpaste is actually labeled as being called poison control. If you actually ingest some of the toothpaste. So all that stuff is evil, but it's a response that's coming from the billionaire globalists to try to say, how do we slow down this growth curve?
But according to you, man, you're saying like they have their intentions are correct. I mean, you're basically agreeing with everything that's on Georgia Guidestones, like we should have a sustainable level, population levels on this planet Earth.
We are on this planet. We have to manage it somehow. That means that we have to re-embrace moral management of some kind. And so, well, what? How many people can we have? 10 billion? 12 billion? 50 billion?
I listened to Webster Tarpley. He talked about, he has some great essays concerning, how Malthusianism is complete bullshit and actually was plagiarism from Ortiz, Venetian. And and not just that, this planet, it's not just I know these Malthusians, which it seems like you've become a part of, they think with the decreasing amount of resources, it's going to cause population crash. There's something called technological advance, if we're going to have a lot less of one certain resource, then we're going to try to how to use some other resource, or maybe a completely new method, find a completely new resource or other resource in a more efficient way. I mean, and not just that, on concerning like all the studies which I have read, is like the best way to control population is what? Industrialization. Because every country, even in, I'm going to give you an example, even in Africa, all the industrialized parts of Africa, the population, they maybe before it was like, 20, 12 kids, I don't know. All those people, they went down to just the same level as the Western world, like 1 or 2 kids. I mean, it's the simplest solution. And then you may think, okay, but they're going to start, it's just like the same fucking argument. Oh, let's say if all the Africans or all the Chinese start living the same lifestyle as we do, we're going to have far less resources. Okay, then, like I already said, we're going to find new, by scientific advances, we'll be able to more efficiently use those resources, discover new resources.
Of course.
Everything I've read is that the world population max, there's no fucking way it's going to go above 12 million, okay? Just because by that time we have a degree of, as I've already stated, industrialization, it's in population density, it's going to go down. I mean, that's why there's no fucking, and not just that, man. I'm going to say it because I said, people always make this fucking mistake that I'm like an atheist because I guess I sound like one, but if you take a monotheistic view, God, subhanahu wa ta'ala, he always says like, you should always have kids. Having kids is a good thing. It's always a blessing to have children. And I believe in that, man. I agree. Now, how can you say you agree with me if you're like you sound just like, when you go like into this resource management and like, you sound New World Order, dude.
It's actually multiplication. Essentially, if you want 7 billion people in the world, right? If you're happy with that figure, then couples will be having, say, 2.3 children on average. Because, a few people die from accidents, such and so forth. But if you want a sustainable population, you'll be having families that produce, like 2 people will produce 2 offspring. And so if you have more than that being produced, if you have every family producing 8 or 10 children, then you'll have a population going up. It's just math. If you have only 1 child per couple, then you'll have a population that goes down. And I think in the West, because it's too expensive to survive, in some cases people have just said, I don't want to have kids because it's just a bloody hassle. I can't afford it.
Well, then that's just going to make room for other people to have children. And like I already said, it's all going to level off eventually. Tikra, I got to tell you.
We level it off. We level it off. That's all. I'm advocating sustainable stuff. I'm advocating the science you're talking about.
You're a Nazi. Okay.
And I'm even just saying that, hey, the problem that the globalists have is they're afraid of 12 billion people. And I just think that we have to like manage things better.
I understand. Let's end the show at like an angry note. Tikra, I want to thank you so much for joining me on today's program.
Sure. Is this it? Is this like all that you're like going to do? We're not going to do more?
No, this is it.
We didn't even get started.